But starting with you, Jasper, what are your bets?
Well, I think it's difficult to judge Kasket at this time. I'm not sure I'd agree that this is, as said, the best possible indicator of the national election. I mean, it's notoriously difficult to judge the mood of a country at the third quarter of the game. It looks like Congress are having a bit of a comeback. Well, I mean, I'm not qualified to comment on polling methodology, but I think the whole polling industry across multiple countries has been either discredited or has gone very wonky. I mean, you know, at one stage of my life I believed in fairies and leprechauns and Brigadoon, but you know, believing in polls anymore seems to be a bit of a mug's game. You can't avoid punditry and forecasts. It's like gambling. It's a fact of life. But you know, even if you look at the spread on the poll of polls at the moment, it's a huge spread, which personally makes me want to discount it. This is, we've said many times, it is a daunting challenge to take India from where it is to where it needs to be, even without relating it to mainland China or other places. And I think it's the brute reality at the moment that at the end of 2018, there's a whole bunch of fairly sketchy economic indicators. As Macaron says, they're on an uninterrupted run, pretty give or take, of 20 elections. Runs do come to an end, that's absolutely true. I think the other side of the coin is interesting too, because on the Congress side, we haven't talked much about Congress, which is entry-level stuff, frankly, and finding that actually the debate has moved to hard economics, liquidity, agrarian situations, etc., etc. So I think here, if you're Raoul, and leaving aside the cult of personality and the rest of it, you've got to be very smart in combining that argument with what you're going to do about it. There's a handsome is as handsome does thing going on here. It's something that one can latch onto to win power
okay, I'll give you.
But in the end, Kasket, what I'm saying here is and taking this back to the Indian context, sooner or later, and this is where the rubber hits the road for the Modi regime, right? You've got to deliver stuff. Right? So you can be this outsider or that outsider, you can be representing the dispossessed, you can be fantastic at social media, but it won't last unless you deliver. Exactly. One of the challenges here, I think, whether you're an insider or outsider, is at certain points in a party's evolution, you need a new broom of one sort or another. And that naturally takes you onto the subject of Raoul. So he's a new broom on one level from the oldest broom family in town. Right, and you could hardly call him an outsider. So, I think, whether that plays out in this state election too much, who knows? But sure as eggs are eggs, it's going to play out in April and May again, right?
Because the issue is, in 2019, he's not going to be an outsider.
Himalayan exuberance of 2014, followed by UP, frankly, to sort of move into the rather boring plains and then slightly descend into a valley of despair. Yeah, that's what happens. That's what happens with brands. But he's still a power brand, right? It's all very relative. In this country, we do need a strong government that can get stuff done, and that's how the voter measures you. But at the same time, power corrupts. We know that. So Congress coming back, being a capable opposition. Thank God for democracy, politics and the Congress Party that they're showing some form here. However, you would not call it a landslide, right?
Yeah, definitely
You would not call it a landslide. So, Krishna, you use the term...
Jasper, you can use the word recovery.
Yes, it's a recovery.
They've recovered the ground.
It's a very creditable recovery.
I use the term curtain raiser.
Krishna, you raised the point about curtain raising.
Yeah.
If the curtain had raised and we saw a very pathetic, ugly character in the form of the Congress Party with parlous results, right? That would look very, very bad for them coming into next year, right? And in fact, the electorate might have discounted them before we even get there. In a game of two players, at this point, it's very hard to judge whether it's the premium of one player and the deficit of another. And typically, at this stage in an electoral cycle, you would expect to see the incumbent get a bashing.